Hello everyone, and welcome to your first lesson for advanced algebra. Now, I'm using the word lesson very loosely because everything I'm going to cover in this video is all review. You should know how to do these, so that's why this is only going to be one page of notes, one video, because it should be stuff you already know. So today we are taking a look at linear equations and inequalities. So our first concept we're going to review are linear equations. An equation says that two things are equal. When we solve an equation, we are looking for a solution so that when replaced with the variable, it makes the equation true. When we solve for a variable, we are looking to isolate the variable. So that's all we're doing. We are isolating the variable. So I have some examples here that we are going to go through and do, and they get progressively more difficult. So the first one, we have 10 minus 2u is equal to 2. So the variable we are solving for is u. So we need to get u by itself. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract 10 from both sides. So then I have negative 2u is equal to negative 8. And then divide by negative 2. And we get u is equal to positive 4. Now, in Delta Math, when they ask for your answer, they do not want it as u equals 4. You will just type in 4. So keep that in mind when you type your answer into Delta Math. They just want the answer. All right, our next one. Negative 3x plus 2 equals 2x plus 37. As you can see, we have variables on both sides. So we need to move a variable to get it on the other side. I think it's going to be easier to move the negative 3x because the opposite of negative is adding. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And we're left with 2 is equal to 5x plus 37. Next, I'm going to subtract 37 from both sides. And we're left with negative 35 is equal to 5x. And our last step, divide by 5. And we get x is equal to negative 7. Next example, we have some distribution that we have to do. So when you see these parentheses, we need to distribute. So that is what we're going to do. Remember, distribute is just multiplication. So we get 8x minus 16 minus 5x plus 4 is equal to negative 30. Now, before we can do any isolating, we need to combine like terms. So 8x gets combined with minus 5x. Negative 16 gets combined with plus 4. So when we do that, we end up with 3x minus 12 is equal to negative 30. Now we have it to an easy to manage equation that we can solve. Add 12 to both sides. So 3x is equal to negative 18. And then divide by 3. So x is equal to negative 6. All right, our last one. Now, I did just say whenever we see parentheses, we distribute. Whenever it's a fraction in front, I actually take a different route. Instead of distributing 2/3 to the inside, what I'm going to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal. This gets rid of the fraction, so we're left with 8x minus 6 here on the right. So now all we have to do here, 3 times 3 is 9 over 2. Now, my advice, if you don't like working with fractions, convert the fraction to a decimal, and then at the end, convert it back into a fraction. So that's what I did here. 9 over 2 is 4.5. So now I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So 10.5 is equal to 8x. Divide by 8. And we get x is equal to 0.5625. But again, because we started with a fraction, we need to put this back as a fraction, which is 9 over 16. So that is our review on linear equations and solving. Now, linear inequalities. So an inequality says that two things are greater than, less than, and or equal. So you guys are familiar with these signs, greater than, less than, or equal to. So we go through the exact same process for solving an inequality that we did with an equation. But at the end, we now need to graph our solution on a number line. So I need to remind you guys about the graphing part of it. So graphing reminders. So first you need to know if it's going to be an open circle or a closed circle. So whenever you have greater than or less than, this is going to be an open circle. If it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it is going to be a closed circle. Next, we need to know which direction the arrow is going to be pointing. Because remember, we put an arrow over the circle. If you have your variable greater than or equal to, so the variable is on the left, our arrow is going to go to the right. If it's variable less than or equal to, our arrow goes to the left. So now, let's solve and graph. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. So negative 8x is greater than 16. And then I'm going to divide by negative 8. Now, remember, when we divide by a negative, the inequality is going to flip. So that's going to now be x is less than negative 2. Now that we have it solved for, we come over here to negative 2. It is less than, so it's going to be an open circle and going to the left. And there you have it. Hopefully that was enough notes to get you through our review.